Hey guys, welcome to this episode of your Design Your Physician Life podcast. I'm Dr. Myrdalis Diaz-Ramirez, and I welcome you. This episode is brought to you by our maxAllure Mastermind, which is a development for personal and professional purposes for physicians who want to learn about entrepreneurship. Today, we have a wonderful episode. It's going to be about transformation as a physician within a mastermind. We have two wonderful guests who are members of our newest cohort, Dr. Aileen Cáceres and Dr. Denise Baker. Are you ready? Let's go.
Welcome to the Design Your Physician Life podcast, where you will get excited about being a physician, learn the tools that can help boost your success, and great tips from successful doctors. Join us to unlock the keys to an amazing physician life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Myrdalis Diaz-Ramirez.
Hey guys, I'm very excited today. I have two members of our current mastermind. We have Dr. Aileen Cáceres and Dr. Denise Baker. I'm very honored that I get to work with them every week. We've done so for around 8 weeks now, and we have 4 more weeks to go. And I wanted to have them here because I want them to tell you what their stories have been before the mastermind and what their transformations, if any, have been already in the 8 weeks that we have right now. And then just give you different points of view, different perspectives before they started the mastermind at this point where we're 1/3 down. And then I'll bring them later at a different point at a later time so that then they can tell us how it's going for them. So thank you, ladies. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us, Myrdalis.
Thanks. So I want to start with Aileen, Dr. Aileen Cáceres. She started with us. She was one of the first, she really signed up for this. And let's start with your history. Who was the one who decided to become a physician? Was it like little Aileen or teen Aileen? Who was that who decided to become a doctor?
I'll tell you, I'm the first one in my family to have gone to college, finished high school, gone to college, and to think about medicine was like a big, big deal. But I remember when I was 5, growing up in New York City, I knew that I wanted to help people when I was the one that all the kids in the neighborhood, when they had scrapes and dents and falls, they would run to me. So I knew that I wanted to help others, and I knew that I had that healing touch in my future.
So you are the first generation going to school. Yes. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. What was your inspiration besides? Was that strength within yourself? Did you see somebody who looked like you or who serviced you that you said, I want to be like them when I grow up?
It's actually a very fascinating story. So my father was a mechanical engineer at St. Luke's Roosevelt Hospital in Manhattan. So my dad was the one who had to fix all the machines in the operating room. And as a kid, he would eat to the dungeons of St. Luke Roosevelt Hospital, which you can go to now. And he would bring me into the OR because he would fix the instrumentation in there. And I remember saying, oh my God, this place is so fascinating.
That's just wonderful. So then you went on, and did you study all your career in New York?
Yes. So I did my residency in New York City in the Bronx. And, Myrdalis, I had a choice between the Beth Israel Deaconess in Boston and the Bronx. And I wanted the tough training. Not that Deaconess is not, but I wanted to be in the trenches. I wanted to see what it meant to have nothing, right? And exposed. But then I decided that I just didn't want to just do OBGYN. I wanted to subspecialize in women's surgery. So I did a fellowship at Sloan Kettering in pelvic reconstruction. And then that wasn't enough. I then moved to Florida to follow my parents, and I did a fellowship in minimally invasive surgery. And as you know, that
wasn't enough.
So I'm always thinking ahead. Someone labeled me as an eagle once because of looking over, the prefaces and seeing progression. So I started my own practice. I was employed by the hospital. That was a turn wheel that was too exhausting. And I felt that women wanted more. They wanted me to have them inside and out. So this year, I took it upon myself to apply for cosmetic surgery fellowship, and I got accepted, which was an amazing opportunity, as Dr. Baker can tell you, as we go on this. And I am living in Sarasota. I left my family to come to Sarasota for 1 year. And it's been the best thing ever.
So at the time I met you, you have a huge practice in Orlando, Florida, which is 2 hours away from where we are in Sarasota, Florida. I met you around 3 months ago. And you have that practice running at the same time that you have your family with your children in Orlando, 2 hours away. And you come here to Sarasota to do another fellowship for that.
Right.
And then you're like in the middle of what I'm going to do next with my practice, correct?
Correct. Correct. You know, I think that everything in life happens for a reason. And there is a person that unites you and me, and her name is Dr. Arun Rao, that we all know very well, a prior Mastermind person. She and I, she was a bariatric surgeon and I was an MIS fellow in the same hospital in Orlando. And I had no idea she had moved here to Sarasota. Somehow we reconnected and she connected me to you, which I feel was the reason I came to Sarasota. So the cosmetic surgery fellowship is amazing, but there was something else that I needed to do here. And that was meeting you and being part of the mastermind.
I have chills right now. Seriously. Like I have chills because I feel that, you know, having you in our group has been a blessing. And you are somebody that we look up to, you know, we have this mastermind, but your enthusiasm and your determination, you know, they're amazing. So you're really an inspiration to us to like, we really appreciate having you.
Thanks.
So let's talk about a little bit about, it happens that we have one cosmetic surgeon in the making, and we have one cosmetic surgeon who's been a cosmetic surgeon for a little while ago, Dr. Denise Baker. So let's introduce Dr. Denise Baker. And you guys won't believe it. Like she joined our mastermind later, and she is also a mentor now to Aileen in our group because it's been a cosmetic surgery. Like we were not planning on this, but it's the way it's happened. So Denise, I know you come from a family where there has been at least one physician. Tell us about your story.
My father was a cardiothoracic surgeon in the military, and we moved around a lot. I was in 10 different schools in 12 different years of my education, primary education. But I have pictures. I have distinct memories of rounding with my father between the ages of 3 and 5. And we have pictures of my being on rounds with him, and even have distinct memories of being in the operating room with him. When I was 5, we moved to Cleveland, Ohio. My father was a cardiac surgeon fellow at the Cleveland Clinic. And from there, we went to Cuba, where my father developed the underground hospital. I remember doing a number of things with my father in the hospital, in Cuba, both in the regular naval hospital, but also in the underground hospital, which I have yet to find anybody who knows where that is located. Although I could, if I were put back on the island, I could actually drive you to the location of the underground hospital. I remember doing things in Bethesda, Maryland when we came back. And actually going to the White House when my father had meetings with the president. I would bring my little books with me, and because I was always on my father's coattails. But growing up, it was known basically that my brother was going to be the physician, and I just wasn't really sure. So in high school, they had records of me at Gainesville discussing a career in medicine. And I went another route, and I got several other degrees and went into audiology and speech pathology and worked in a number of different fields with each of those 2 master's degrees. And then I actually started working for a group of ENT doctors in Corpus Christi, Texas, who took me to the OR with them and took me on rounds with them and worked in the hospital. And I did their hearing aid dispensing business in the office. And I got a different sense. I got a sense of an office and hospital-based practice. I got a sense of the business end of medicine. And I decided, after working for the group of ENT docs, 2 years later, I decided I'm moving back to Florida, redoing my career and going to medical school. So I was very lucky. I was accepted to University of Florida, had a great time, and went to Kentucky for residency, but always knowing I was going to come back to Florida because I wanted to build a solo practice of women, by women, for women. And I moved to Bradenton and had a group of 2 of us and then 4 of us. And then I decided to go back to solo practice. But in going back to solo practice, it was another evolution because I wanted to be able to continue taking care of my patients after I halted obstetrics. So I developed a medical spa, became certified in lasers, even though I had done lasers since the mid 80s, which Aileen, you know, from having been in GYN. We
Yes.
had done intra-abdominal and cutaneous lasers for a number of years. So became certified in that. And then I did my cosmetic surgery and got my boards in cosmetic surgery while I was still working on taking care of patients, but had realized that I didn't want to be in the hospital anymore. So it was a matter of how do I really focus and keep my office going and continue taking care of the patients that I've taken care of for years. Interestingly, this evening, I went kitty corner for across the street from my house to pick up something from a neighbor, and in walked a 22-year-old young man whom I had delivered. So it's an interesting circle of life. No, I didn't recognize him, but as soon as we introduced ourselves, I said, "Oh," and I reached over and I rubbed his head, and I said, "You were one of the little babies ready to be born who loved his head rubbed." And he said, "And I still do."
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. That's awesome.
So, and then pandemic hit. I closed my practice. I sold it to another group and stayed with them for a year. And basically then was not really clear on where I was going, what I was doing. And that was, it took me a long time to kind of refocus again. And the interesting part is while I was still kind of meandering through life and pseudo professional work, not really knowing where I wanted to go, knowing that retirement wasn't working, I got this incredible text from Myrdalis, who said, come see our office. And that was the biggest, most refreshing, most delightful thing that has happened to me in the last year, because I walked into the office, saw her immediately, saw Arun Rao right away, and I had a sense of warmth by actually looking you in the face and looking you in the eyes that I hadn't had in a long time. So the circle around with that is, for a number of years, I've worked with Sharon McQuillan, and we ran the master's program for aesthetic medicine for University of South Florida, which is a lot of the office-based cosmetic work. And we also had a branch in regenerative medicine, including stem cell, PRP, and later exosomes. So Myrdalis and I were colleagues in adjacent cities, but in 2016, we actually worked together through some of the courses. So it was a real honor to be able to meet up with you again. I had sent you patients in the meantime, but crossing the county line from Manatee County seemed to be a big thing, and not too many patients would travel the 11 miles down to Sarasota. But it was an incredible, joyful way for me to kind of meet up with you again. And then through Mastermind, I've been honored to meet Aileen. So thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about my journey. But I have a truly renewed vigor about medicine again, because also in the early 2000s, I became a member of A4M and became a true believer and practitioner in functional medicine. And so in the last 2 decades of my private practice, I was able to do functional medicine along with my aesthetic medicine. And those two are the most incredible ways to assist patients with their healthcare. So that's where I am, and that's how I got here. And I am absolutely enthralled again.
Well, guys, you've heard both of these stories, and I'm really honored to be part of your lives, guys. Like, I don't know how many times I'm going to get chills today, but I'm like, it's an ongoing thing. I'm so excited. I want the listeners to know that these two physicians, as you can see, they're overachievers. It's not their first rodeo. They have seen, you guys have lived through the transition in medicine. You've been practicing medicine for a very long time. I've been an interventional pain management physician for over 20 years myself. And a lot of knowledge that we miss because we've been focusing on medicine or some other things about business, about mindset, about many things that we have just not had. Let's say that we have not taken the time because our priorities have been different. And you've experienced this transition in medicine yourselves. Aileen, I don't know, you've been a physician now for how long?
Yeah, about 15 years.
15 years, graduated your last fellowship.
Yeah.
Your next fellowship is coming up. And then Denise, you've been a practicing physician for how long?
About 34 years.
34 years. So you guys, and she was first an audiologist, and she had different professions. So she didn't go straight through medicine. So you can see how when we talk about design your physician life, it is our knowledge. We know this for a fact that you can design your physician life at any age, at any stage. You just need to be in the right situation. You have to recognize that there's some type of problem, right? If it's not broken, don't fix it. Many people don't understand what type of problem they have. And in medicine, we have, at times we're just so beaten down that we don't have the energy or don't have the resources, or, just as I said, we're focused on what we have in front of us and are not able to look any further outside. So one of the things that we offer, well, the three things that we say that we offer in our mastermind is accountability, support, and coaching. And I want to talk a little bit about first having a team of people who are making you accountable for change. And later, we're going to get into your personal changes for each of you. But right now, as you said, I met both of you. We're happy to have you. So that means that at least three of us, right now we're, 9 physicians. Many of us have their couples in the mastermind. Aileen, from your point of view, what has accountability within this group meant for you in just 2 months of the mastermind?
Yeah, I can't believe it's been 8 weeks. It's like, oh my God, I don't want it to end. But it's wonderful to see that I'm not the only one that's having these concerns, issues, or being lost, right? And it's so wonderful to see that others are in different stages, but we're all really on the same path. We want to have better relationships with our patients. We don't want to be dictated. It's wonderful for basic things such as, did you exercise this week? Did you drink water this week? That is huge because many of my physician friends and colleagues don't have the time for that because we get caught in this terrible hamster wheel like Denise and I were talking about. And it's hard to jump off and see the big picture. I think the accountability week by week and the homeworks and the lessons and the books. I got to be honest with you. I think that if I was home, I probably would not have the time to dig deep in the program because being in fellowship allows me that protected time away from the family that I listen to the books. I'll do the lectures, and it's been like the best thing ever to be able to see the big picture.
What about you, Denise? How do you feel the accountability of being a weekly group at this stage in life has helped you?
It's a very interesting phenomenon for me because we grow up in a scholastic environment that can be regulated by others, but for the most part is regulated by ourselves. And in the physician training, self-health and self-care is not something that has ever been an emphasis, nor applauded or encouraged. And so that's the first part of accountability, is acknowledging to myself that for me to make it for the next 30 years, I now have to take care of this. Now, we do all the way through medical school and residency. We did have a few people who were very good about their exercising, but they were not the dominant factor. I was in the 90% who wasn't, not in the 10% who was. So this has been very good for me. We also grew up in a scholastic environment where accountability was strong. And then when we moved into our private practices, our accountability took a totally different form. It took a form, it was almost an onerous form because of insurance companies and liability, that type of thing. So it was an external accountability, not a in-practice accountability at the personal level. So we had to learn business on our own. We had to learn personnel management. We had to learn the day in and day out. But at no time was the emphasis on taking care of herself. And as Aileen said, the basics, 8 ounce glasses of water a day, exercising on a regular basis, making sure we're getting aerobic and weight-bearing exercises in, but also coming back around to that part of our brain that loves to learn and loves to investigate. That's part of our homework. And that is making sure that we're staying on task and not getting distracted by all of the myriad of things that can hit us. You all help keep me on the straight and narrow to take care of myself, to advance myself in this hodgepodge world of medicine.
Thank you for that. That's what we're trying to do. I'm glad that is happening. And that you guys mentioned self-care from, the basics. It's amazing. We are always prescribing that, but we really don't take care of ourselves necessarily. It's like crazy, no? Aileen, let's talk about developing a vision, right? That's one of the first things that we try to work with our members through their onboarding, getting to know you guys, and developing that vision. And we go through a process that we just take the time to do things that seem logical, right? But we just don't take the time. Tell us the story tell us where you are, how you came, what your plans were with this fellowship of yours, and how has your vision changed in any way, or being a little bit more modified or perfection, or whatever it is that you're doing with your vision right now as you came into the mastermind?
Yes, that's an awesome question. Thank you so much. When I decided to do cosmetic surgery, I was really running away from a insurance-based model. And I wanted to introduce things into my practice that really did not depend on insurance. I wanted to take care of patients. I want them to be happy, but I want to be able to offer more than what I'm able to offer now. When I came to Sarasota, and I would kind of hear for 6 months already after I met you, before I met you, that's right. I realized, cosmetic surgery is amazing, but it's the same churning. If you don't operate, you're not going to bring in income, right? You got to keep that generation going. And I was like, okay, so this is kind of like a different hamster wheel on a different set of steroids kind of thing. And if you know what I mean, it's a different model. What you have taught me and what the program has taught me, what the vision became, is how do I become free of those models and love what I do? Love that GYN surgery that I love. I love deep pelvic robotic endometriosis surgery because I love to see a patient feel better and make a difference in that patient's life. I love cosmetic surgery because patients that deep down, they're regular people like you and me, and they see something they want to fix. And when it's fixed, they're so happy. But I want to do it, Myrdalis, on my terms. I don't want to be jumping back on that hamster wheel. I want to be happy just doing a few of those procedures and not depending on that. And that's what the vision has morphed out for me, that independence to create a model where I'm happy taking care of my patients and I love what I do. I'm not going to give up doing what I do, but I don't want to be forced to continue on that hamster wheel.
Something we have not talked about is, have you had conversations about this process, about this transformation that you've had in your vision with any other practitioners or even with your husband at home about what's happening with the mastermind?
No, because let me tell you, I'm already on the bad list for stepping away. I had a colleague kind of accuse me that I stepped away from my practice and abandoned my patients to do a selfish thing. My husband hasn't grasped, he's very scared. I'm the breadwinner in the family, and he's home with the kid. So I'm waiting to morph everything and gather my strength so that I can fully defend myself, right?
So
And
how do you feel now? Because you came to that fellowship, right? And you had this vision for yourself after that fellowship. And then how do you feel now, right now that you have this other vision, to be able to confront those who have told you, that you have either abandoned or been selfish, or you're doing this type of work maybe for yourself and not looking at the others around?
No, because now I have a vision of where I want to be and how I want to take care of the patients. For the first time, I've become the driver. I'm not being driven. I'm actually making those decisions. And I'm going to tell you one last thing. My biggest inspiration was one of my 9 twins who said to me midway through this fellowship, he said, "Mommy, when you come back home to Orlando, are you going to be working more or less?" And that was so impactful for me. So he said that to me in the middle of this course. And I was like, you know what, Ale, you're right. What am I going to do when I come back home? So
what's the answer now?
The answer is I'm going to work at my pace. I'm going to decide when I want to work. If I want to take a week off in a month and spend it with you guys, that's what we're going to do.
And are you fearful that you're going to be making less money than before?
You guys have provided some amazing resources. It's going to be tough the first 6 to 8 months because right now I'm in that transition. But I'm using the tools that you have provided through the homeworks and things like that, and the resources to look at other opportunities and options, like the 401k, the Dr. Phillips talk, Miranda Phillips. That was really very insightful. And I was like, you know what? You've got to use the tools that you have in front of you to model that life. And I look at that vision board every day. I printed it as a poster.
How old is your vision board?
My vision board is only 4 weeks now.
See, guys, only 4 weeks is the vision board, and things are much, much different. So that's awesome. Let's talk with Dr. Denise Baker about you when you joined the mastermind. Not only when we were at the clinic, because the clinic was before the mastermind, and how has your vision changed in any way, if it has, by being on the mastermind?
The vision has changed in 2 significant ways. First of all was joining the clinic. It actually helped to truly crystallize my work going forward in functional medicine. Before this, functional medicine for me had to be interwoven with institutional medicine or insurance medicine. Now I have the opportunity to do what I consider the purest form of all in the form of functional medicine and not have to be run by the rules of the insurance companies. Sure, certainly, if they wish to use it, and there are ways that we will develop to work around that to help them with that. But in the same sense, by being able to completely relinquish, abandon, give up my tentacles that held me in insurance-based medicine, I don't have that now. So it's as if someone has taken this hot air balloon and allowed me to fly without the strings that are attaching me to the ground, is the image that I have in my brain. So now I can do what I consider the purest form of medicine, which is to take care of the patients where they are now and to take care of them for the future where they are now, and the things that we can change now so that we make a difference for them for their next 10, 20, 30 years or more. The second thing is with Mastermind, it has allowed me the ability for the first time ever to put glasses or spectacles on. I now have a much clearer vision of what we can reasonably do for healthcare if we're willing to take that first step, the way a baby takes the first step when they're trying to walk. They let go of the table. They're not cruising anymore around the edge of the table. They take their first step towards you, the parent. This has given me the opportunity to take the next step without having to cruise with my hands on the table, being held on by insurance companies, because I know that the business will make it while we're taking care of patients. It's given me my future back, which I really was kind of floundering. I wasn't sure where I was going to go or what I was going to do. So the wires that are holding my balloon to the ground are gone, and I've let go of the table where I was cruising, and I'm now walking through pure functional medicine. It's ecstatic.
So you've been somebody who's been like on retirement, right? You've told your patients that you are like from retirement, and we're like back from retirement right now. And we have so many physicians who are saying that they just want to quit medicine. They don't want to work in medicine anymore. And they want to do other things. So you're only 2 months into the mastermind. What would you tell physicians who really feel exhausted by what they're doing, from the things that you've learned right now at 2 months after starting the mastermind? And what do you think being in the mastermind is allowing you? Well, you've told us that part, but what would you tell somebody who feels like there's no end and they just want to quit medicine?
The best thing that Mastermind has done is given me the structure to be able to move forward. Having had a number of careers in medicine and having had my primary practice evolve, and then saying I'm stopping medicine, I now have a structure. It's as if you gave me a ladder with Mastermind to climb back up out of I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I can't do this anymore, I can't think anymore, I'm burned out. I am now climbing out of those doldrums back into life as a physician again. It's either the safety ladder or the fireman's ladder that's allowing me to climb out and to go back into a joyful practice.
So right now, which sort of things have you learned besides drinking water, doing exercise, and taking care of yourself?
The biggest issue is re-accepting the issue of structure in life. When you retire, you don't have much structure in life. And so I have now regained the structure of life, and that has given me the ability to go back to a categorical brain, a brain that will actually start making my list, checking off my list, making sure I'm staying on schedule. The things that we know to do from before, the things we know to tell our patients that I just didn't apply to myself. Was the basics of those concepts in me? Sure they were, but you have collected them all back together again. And just as you look at a jigsaw puzzle and you know all the pieces there because you know what the picture is going to look like, you have all of these scattered pieces out in front of you. And now those pieces are coming together. That's what Mastermind has given me.
Aileen, tell me about what you're doing, in terms of having this team. Tell me about the people that you've met in the mastermind besides Denise and myself. Who have you met? Have you learned anything from anybody else? And are you looking to listen from anybody else, anything in particular?
Yeah, no, I think the team is pretty amazing. The thing that I find most inspirational are the quotes that Tomas puts on Facebook. I actually do read them. I love those. And the book recommendations. I think those are really amazing. Not that I have time to read, but I have time to do the audiobooks, which is really phenomenal. But also seeing where everybody is. And now I think with the skills and the tools that you have provided through the training, I want to say, listen, you have a choice. It's a toxic environment. You need to start walking away. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I love it. Every week we give an update and he's getting closer, right? I didn't get to meet him in person, unfortunately, when he was here, but to him and his wife, that's what I want to say. And Maria, so inspirational with everything that she's doing. Do you know what I mean? And being such an entrepreneur. I think the biggest thing is understanding that there's a choice. I had a really hard time with that. Especially I feel very guilty because I have a practice. I have staff that has been with me for 15 years. How do you dismantle that, right? There's a lot of responsibility in that. But you know what? This year, I've given myself the choice to be able to do that and the permission to be able to do that, and that everything's going to be okay.
Is there something in particular that you're looking forward to learn in the next 4 months?
Yes. So I'm going to piggyback on what Denise said, the structure. I think that that's the thing that I'm struggling with right now and trying to find answers. So how do I dismantle that institutionalized structure to one that's going to work for me, right? How do I start getting away from insurances? How do I not, I'm still in training. So that's kind of hard because I'm not there 100%.
So one of the things that you both have mentioned is that no insurance. And I have to admit that for the three of us, that's the case. It just happens that we have the two people that are doing, some of the people who are doing non-insurance in our group. But we do have people who will be doing insurance, will be taking patients. So those physicians will be doing that. And they're going to develop some other sources of income. We are talking about real estate. We're talking about passive income in some other ways. We haven't gotten there yet necessarily. We've had some introduction to that, but we do want patients to be cared for. And many of our physicians will actually continue on as physicians under the insurance model because that's what they've chosen. But what happens is that then they're now practicing for joy and not for need with the other tools that we have provided. Denise, in your case, tell me what you've had, who you've met in the group, anything that in particular that you're looking forward to learn in the next few months?
I really want to look at the financial avenues that are open to me. And because the stress level of an insurance-based practice has been reduced, because I've reduced the need part of that, it has freed up space in my brain, it has freed up time, and it has freed up a sense of relaxation that I can actually start to take a look at it. It was too much of a burden to really do that. And I believe that was the effect of the stress on my brain. So you've given me a format to do that, whether I did it with insurance or without insurance, but it is similar to what Aileen said, was the permission to actually start looking at those things again. And then the accountability of making sure that I made the time to do my homework so that it opened up avenues. And it's not that I didn't have a brain structure for that. Those were doors that I wouldn't look at because I just didn't feel as if I had enough time, enough energy, enough motivation to take on one more bite out of one more apple. But I do have that, and I can take not just one bite of one more apple, I can take another bite out of a second and a third and a fourth now because of the energy and the direction and the devotion you've given us, but also that our guests have given us. So new options that were inconceivable before that are conceivable now because the stress level has been reduced.
Any comments about or something that you've thought about your teammates right now? Any of the other physicians, any stories that have caught your attention?
It's interesting. It's the camaraderie that we support, that it's great to be able to listen to other people because they will voice things that maybe I hadn't thought to voice, or they're voicing things or issues that they're coping with or they're reworking, that I can align with almost everybody with everything that they're saying. But I like being able to hear it from somebody else from their perspective. So everybody else in the mastermind is giving to me in ways they have no idea that they're giving to me. I hope I give to them even 1/10 of what I am getting from my colleagues in Mastermind. Because if it's not the same perspective I have, it gives me the vision to look around, turn the corner around and look at it a different way. So they give to me with everything they share.
Let's talk about a guest or one or two guests that we've had in our mastermind, I want to mention, you mentioned the 401k with Dr. Miranda Phillips. So Miranda Phillips, actually, she was part of our first mastermind. And at the time, it was in 2021. At the time, she was already managing around $250 million in assets through real estate. Now she's over $400 million. And she came and she gave her time to us, telling us about how syndications work. Was there in particular that you guys learned in that meeting?
For me, I'll tell you, she made me look at the whole idea of the 401k, and I later read the article that they have on that, and it's pretty mind-boggling. Like, oh my gosh, like I never even thought to think of it this way, right? And this is what Mastermind is for, is kind of looking at those alternatives. The other hot seat, Mo, was very inspirational. Not so much because he was in media with these high, profile people, but it was about how to develop your message. And that was very meaningful coming from someone who, is super successful, right? Working with all these folks, but about that meaning. How do you develop that message? How do you develop that vision? That was very impactful for me.
So Mo is somebody who has handled YouTube channels for The Rock, for Chris Hart, for Serena Williams, and he knows exactly what to do to get a message. And we brought that type of coach because we want our physicians to be successful. Most of the time, we're going to bring physicians who have been there where we are, but at times we really have to elevate the game so that we're really doing great. And we've been very fortunate to have people of that caliber come and teach our physicians. And they're teaching us. So we're learning that so that we can go ahead and serve our patients better, or our families, and, take care of ourselves. So we're very happy to have them. Let's close here. We're going to be closing here in a second. And I just want for you guys to tell us, what would you tell somebody, a physician who you see that either has an idea for a business, don't know where to start, or they have started, but they are not quite there yet, or somebody who you see who's a physician who's burnt out? What would you tell them at this point after these 2 months of the mastermind? Let's start with Aileen and then we'll take on Denise.
Yes. So I've actually had a personal situation like that, where I saw another female physician completely burnt out. And listening is huge, and making sure that you let that person know that there's avenues, that there's growth, and that there's potential. I think that those are invaluable connections that you make with folks, and recommending courses like yours, Myrdalis. But I think that people are they're not immediately going to jump on, right? Because at least I didn't understand the concept, but I love Arun. And when I met you, I loved you. And I was like, I'm in. I may not have the time, but I'm in because I want to know what I'm going to learn from this. But being a mentor to others, I think it is huge to kind of start edging them towards that mind frame.
So how would you define this mastermind now? If somebody asks you, what is this maxAllure mastermind to you right now?
Empowering. If you want to get out of the rat race, if you want to look at your life and value what is important to you as a physician as to why you went into medicine, this is the course for you.
Thank you. Let's go on, Denise. What would you tell somebody who's either wanting to start a business or has started one and needs a little bit of a push, or who's like burnout? What would you tell them right now?
I would offer to that person my time to start them on their road to mentorship. That's what Mastermind has done for me. It has acted the way we think a guidance counselor may have in high school, junior high, college, pre-med, but someone who helps direct us in the areas to go while still giving us the freedom to do the peddling ourselves. But if I had a colleague like that, the first thing I would do is I would invite them out for a cup of coffee or some time that they don't think they have, and do what Aileen said, which is listen to them, and then extend the hand of friendship and a hand up, and let them know that, yes, we have mentors out here that can help you really step out of this well that you've fallen into. It might have been a wishing well when we were looking at it for medicine and going into medicine, but we've fallen down to the very bottom of the wishing well and sometimes can't find our way out. That's what Mastermind has done, is it's given me the out from the depth of the wishing well, to be able to climb right back out and to be able to enjoy what I'm doing with medicine. So the Mastermind course is phenomenal because it gives us the ability, the accountability, but it also gives us the professions, the other people to mentor us one-on-one or 1-on-10, to be able to step going forward and to begin a life of productivity again.
And if somebody asks you, what is a mastermind? What would you tell them right now?
You're my guidance counselor. Absolutely, clearly my guidance counselor. I may be almost 70 years old, but it's really okay. I still need a guidance counselor because I can't see everything. And what Mastermind does is it gives me the structure, the format, the vision, but the hands up, the helping hand, but the counseling going forward from here. And we counsel ourselves, we counsel each other, and you counsel us as well.
Okay, so I want you to remember these words. We're going to have them there recorded in our podcast, Design Your Physician Life, Part 1. And we're going to have you, after the mastermind is over, to come back and tell us how your vision of this whole process has evolved. Hopefully it will. And I look forward to seeing you for the rest of our mastermind and our next Part B, second part of our podcast. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Well, guys, that's it for today. I hope that you learned a lot, as we did with Dr. Denise Baker and Dr. Aileen Cáceres. Please join us for more episodes of Design Your Physician Life podcast, and visit our website, maxallure.com, MAXALLURE, where you can also learn about how you can transform your life as a physician. I hope that you can join us with more of these episodes, and don't miss Part 2, which is going to be coming up soon within just a few more months. Have a great day. Share with your family and friends. Thank you. Bye.
Please remember that Design is not providing specific financial, medical, or career advice. Our only intent is to stimulate your appetite for growth by sharing our experience and those of our speakers, coaches, and guests. Your personal growth and success will be unique to your circumstances and your hard work. We sincerely hope you enjoyed the show and look forward to seeing you next week.